switch this to the up position.
Today, I'm going to figure out how to mount the body of this 1985 4Runner to a somewhat sketchy homemade automotive rotisserie.
And right off the bat, I can see that this is already not going to work.
But that was an easy fix.
So I got this on Marketplace. It was 600 bucks. And if you buy one of these brand new, they start at like 1,500 bucks. So pretty much materials alone made it worth it. It's got really nice casters. And there were some areas that I didn't really feel comfortable about because it was homemade. So I went back and I reinforced some of these welds and added some new material here just to make it more solid and dependable to hold up the body of this 4Runner. And Mikey from the shop spot hooked me up with this bag of grade 8 hardware, so I'm good to go there. Now when it comes to mounting the body of this 4Runner to the rotisserie, I need to have a straight plane going across the middle so that it will rotate smoothly. And this right here is going to be my pivot point.
So I've devised a plan using math, which I'm not great at.
I'll need to have an invisible line going all the way across and have these at the same level. Now when it comes to height, I have 48 inches from the floor to the ceiling, but you also have to consider the width of the vehicle, which is more. I have 67 inches from side to side. So I need to get this up high enough from the base right here so that when this whole vehicle is turning, the side doesn't hit. And that magic number is going to be greater than 33.5 inches. So the center of this cylinder, which will be the middle of my pivot point, is at 36 inches, which is perfect. And well, we're about 36.5 inches. Close enough. Now, to mount this to my body. And the best way to do that is the areas where the body mounts the frame. And I have one of those in each corner here. And up front, I have another one down here and another one over there.
Now was a good time to remove all 10 body mounts, which was the last thing attaching the body to the frame.
This is the height that I'm going to be using when the body is off the frame and I need to rotate it to work on the bottom. So to begin with, I'm going to go back down one notch here, which is maybe about 3 inches lower. And I'm going to use this to attach the body to the rotisserie. And then that way, when I lift it up, I'll have some space between the body and the frame, and I can hopefully get enough room to go up a little bit higher and slide the frame out from under it, work on that, then come back and finish fixing all the rust on the floor and laser the complete underside of this and paint it. And this came with this homemade rotisserie, and it's not going to work in my case up here because I'm going to have to either trim it down or make a new one from scratch. But the idea is you go from this sleeve here down underneath where the body mount would be. And the only issue with that in the instance of a first gen 4Runner is it's not flat in the bottom. This lower piece is sandwiched in with this upper piece here to give it extra strength, but this edge here rolls down on both sides, And then this edge on the front also rolls down. So I'll have to either stack some washers in there, or what if I just mount it to the top side? Except I don't have a lot of surface area, so there won't be much room to have a big old 2-inch steel tube right here. That's not a lot of surface area. So I may have to make some sort of custom plate to make this work here up front. And around back here is a different problem to solve. I've got some braces on the side of the underneath area where the mount is. So I have to have a bracket that kind of comes in like an L and then straight out. But then I've got this piece in the way. So my solution to that is to mount these brackets here from the top on both sides, have them come out. I didn't even need those brackets when I could just mount the bar directly to the floor. With my new plan of mounting from the top, I lowered both sides a few more notches. For the front mount, I started with a cardboard template. I'd be able to use these right angle brackets that came with the rotisserie if I cut them down to fit. This Art Captain Cut 55 MP plasma cutter has saved me so much time. I'll put a link in the description if you're looking for a quality plasma cutter that won't break the bank. So we've got the driver's side and the passenger side. And then I have my lower angled pieces, and they're gonna sit on there like that. And I did go back and put some additional notches in the top here. So these notches will allow me to access the bolt head, and it also allows this whole piece to sit in farther, which is gonna give me a lot more surface area to weld these two together. All right, I just double checked all the measurements. Everything is pretty much squared up and even, and I have these where I want them. Now, because I'm over on the opposite side of the garage from my 220 outlet, I'm just gonna use this little link in to get these tacked into place on both sides how I like them. Then I'll take them back over here to the 220 outlet where I'll be using the MIG 205 Pro by Art Captain to fully weld them together. Next, I marked every hole that I needed to drill so I could bolt all the pieces in this exact position. Now I needed to add some holes on the rear where the bar would mount directly to the floor. Now I just needed to put it all together and see if my measurements were correct. You can see I've got quite a gap to fill here where there's a shoulder on the bolt. So I've gone through my toolbox and found all the washers I can to fill that gap.
Before I move on to the back, keep in mind, I have a lot of play in here. This goes in about probably 10, 12 inches where this can slide in and out. So this whole piece is gonna have some movement to it until I get everything bolted down. And now is the time to go under the truck and connect this long extension here going from the front to the back. There was additionally another piece here with a collar to connect this all together into one huge long piece, but I can't see anyone needing that unless you're restoring like a 59 Eldorado or something. I will be fine with just this piece, and 2 inches from the end, I have a hole drilled already, so I'll just need to line that up with this. So back here for setting up the rear, I do have a little bit of space to fill, a gap if you will. This is recessed into the floor about 1 inch, and I can't even get this to be all the way flush against this floor because I actually have about maybe 1 inch here from where this is. So this bar is always gonna be up off the floor a little bit. So I have a couple of random spacers. Thanks Mikey from the shop spot. And we're gonna pack these full of washers so they're not sliding around, and that should hopefully secure this and make it solid. I have this raised up a notch right now just so it's not resting on the body, just to keep it easier to position. So let's drop this back down. Oops. And we gotta go in a little bit here. I scrounged around and I found some longer bolts because this distance is quite a bit greater than the distance of the original body mount bolt. So this bigger spacer was the exact perfect height to fill the gap between here and here. So I'm gonna stack this full of washers so it's not gonna wobble around on here, and hopefully this will all be solid. And this one was slightly shorter, so we'll put a washer down first. And I don't have any washers. They're gonna fill that gap in there, unfortunately. So we'll try this just as it is. Throw another washer on top to get the height even with the other side, and we'll drop it down. Well, my math was way off on that. I got a gap there and a gap over here. So let's push this end down. Go back over here. I've got about 24 millimeters total. So I need to add 12 millimeters of washers on each side. So there's how it looks. Pretty solid. However, once this is all tightened down, this pulled out a little bit, and I've got probably about a 3 1/4 inch gap here. And up front, about a 1 3/4 inch. So I'm gonna loosen this bolt up and pull this back to extend this gap and close that one a little bit, just to make it more even. Now I'm ready to lift the body off the frame, but there's one more thing I wanna do as a safe measure here. I'm gonna be cutting out part of the floor here. This is all rodded out, and I have some donor panels here. Thanks, Eden from Colorado. And once this isn't attached to a solid frame, I'm worried that these could flex a little bit. So I'm gonna make a brace to run across from one of these bolt holes to the other side, just to give it some more structural rigidity. I've got some 1-inch tube here, and we'll cut it right about there. Oh yeah, she's good. I just realized one potential issue. Early on, I told myself I was gonna move everything over to there where the 80 series is. I forgot to do that, and my roof is gonna hit the garage door opener. So hopefully I can slide this back maybe about 18 inches and it should clear. So I wasn't able to push it back. 160 pounds, me, it was not enough to move it by myself, but I was able to move it over between the garage door opener and it shouldn't hit this rail over here. Time for liftoff. So how these old high lift jacks work is pretty simple. So right now this is in the down position, so every time I move this handle up and down, it's gonna go down the notch. We want this to be facing up like this. Now every time I move the bar, it goes up 1 notch. So far so good. Let's go lift up the front a little bit and just alternate back and forth, back and forth. Just a wrench I left in there. Looks like everything's gonna clear inside the engine bay. Back to the rear. I hear a weird noise. Sounds like rust breaking apart. All right, fuel lines are all staying with the frame. We're good there. Got nothing back here. There's a problem right there. We got a speedometer cable. I unbolted all that from the body, but it's getting hung up somewhere. Let's go under. Something's going on right here. Looks like it's still stuck in that clip. Oh, no, look at this. Under here. Oh, there it goes. I think I got everything else. Let's find out. That really loud vibrating noise, it's this sleeve rubbing on this pole. It's actually scraping off the paint over here. Lube. Ooh, it sounds so terrible. It's really starting to twist and move on the back as I'm lifting it off the frame. Not sure why, probably something to do with the fact that these are homemade. That's it. Oh, that's sketchy. It's just wedged up, holding its own weight. Widowmaker 2000 here. I goofed the wire that was around this to keep it all from flopping everywhere. I didn't notice that it got pinched inside the mechanism. Oh geez, same back here. There's not even any weight on both jacks. What kind of voodoo is this? And I missed one clip there on the body that holds on the speedo cable and the parking brake. And somehow both jacks have no weight on them. This has all binded to a halt. right now, I just need to open up this clip. Get these out of here. There we go. Oh, shoot. I'm also hung up right there in that bolt. All right, worry about the back later. Main problem is I'm maxed out on the height. I can go up front and still not enough to clear the engine. Maybe I can slide it out through one of these wheel wells. This one's a little bit bigger over here, but not quite. Well, for right now, let's take a lunch break and think about this. I'm an idiot. I just heard something shoot off and hit over here. Just the top of the gas cap. It must have been hung up on this door and it finally split. And this thing is wedged in here. I can't get it to go down. I tried prying it. I don't know what it's hung up on, so I'm gonna disconnect it down here. And yes, I did put bolts in here to stop this from moving as I'm putting my hand between the body and the frame. That is probably why the body was twisting toward the rear. All good. Okay, I have a plan. Let's pull this off of here. It's so close. What I'm gonna do is lift the frame up, remove this caster, that'll give you an extra maybe 2 inches. And I'll see if this side being lower will allow me to roll the jig over here to the driver's side, hopefully clearing this intake and valve cover. I'll only have maybe, 2.5, 3 feet to go over, and I'll have to set it down. Hopefully it'll be over the valve cover here above these ignition wires. And at that point, I'll have to lift up this side of the frame, and that's gonna have to be a pretty high lift, perhaps pull the wheels off to slide this bar going all the way across out from this side. And that'll get the front free. The back's gonna be a lot easier, but I'll end up doing the same thing for the back here. Well, it worked. Could have gone better. Could have gone a lot worse. But the good news is, it's off the frame. There was one casualty. Remember that brake line, they got stuck in that bolt? Well, it pulled it, yanked the whole thing up. And if you follow this down here, yeah, this was coiled up right about here. It unstretched that coil and kinked it. This one got a little unbent too. So, small casualty, unfortunately. Those were pretty nice brake lines, but I'll have to rebuild those. That's it. I'm okay. Everything besides the brake line is okay. And the body is good. So that was sketchy, but it's solid now. And the plan of attack here is to work on the frame first, give it a good cleaning, pull everything off to a bare frame, pull out the engine because it's knocking. New one is over there. Gonna convert it to a manual instead of the automatic. And once the frame is all done, I'll get back to the body. In the meantime, I'm gonna drop this as low as it can go just because I don't want my kids climbing up in there and playing under there and getting crushed.
So in the end, what I saved in money, I more than made up for in time, headache, and danger. And that seems to be a recurring theme of a lot of my projects on this channel. Something to keep in mind if you happen to come across a homemade rotisserie for sale sitting in somebody's backyard. Thanks for watching.